There's increasingly high expectations being expressed by Mexican Americans, reinforced by the returning veterans from the Second World War who have experienced foxhole democracy. They come back expecting to be treated fairly the way they were treated in the military. They're still facing seemingly unchanging social conditions that we describe in terms of a gap, gaps in political representation.
It was basically a patron system. 2 or 3 guys got together, went to visit with the power brokers, and they established themselves as the patrones. When the World War II veterans came back from the war, they started to change things, but not politically. It was more socially.
Organizations that have been organized before, like the League of United Latin American Citizens, the American GI Forum, become more aggressive in their demands for change. The youth then makes use of these opportunities when they graduate from high schools at a higher rate and then attend colleges at a higher rate and then join the professional ranks in the Mexican American community and the social movement. Many of us joined the community action programs established by Congress during the Johnson administration.
And this administration today, here and now, declares unconditional war on poverty in America.
We were beginning the war on poverty in Austin. When they heard me talk about my experience and what I was doing and all of that, they said, you're exactly what we need. We need neighborhood centers, and we're going to need people to run them and help people get to where they need to go. And in the following year, there were some other programs came about. One of them was called Project Enable, which is where Gonzalo landed. He came to my neighborhood center looking for space, which we gave him.
And we had that office there on what was then East First, later to become Cesar Chavez. John Treviño was a neighborhood center director. Richard Moya was an investigator for legal aid. Well, that's really when we became friends after working the community for several years.
At that time, it was still an at-large system. So, of course, it was very difficult for anybody to win without the approval of the whites from the other side of town.
And actually, that was my first election that I ever got involved in. I learned from scratch what it was like to campaign. We learned how to walk door to door. We learned how to register people. We learned the basics of what it takes to win an election. But we just came up a little short on some votes. That didn't stop us. That was just the first step.
This was happening here in Austin, and many things were happening throughout the country. It was our time. And they said the sleeping giant has awakened.
The 4 precincts were not evenly divided among population. So when the courts ruled that you have to have equal one man, one vote, out of that came the expansion of precinct 4. I remember Moya telling me one day, hey, now we have a chance. We have a larger number of voters, Hispanic voters in this precinct, and if we can get a few Anglos and maybe a few blacks, we have at least a chance.
That was a period of time when Mexican Americans were starting to feel empowerment in all angles of the community: politics, community organizing, community leadership, youth leadership, student power. All of these things were at a height in 1970.
So it was grassroots campaign. John Treviño was my campaign manager. He quit his job with about 5 kids and came to run my campaign for nothing. I didn't have any money to pay anybody. I was a printer, right? I went and bought a secondhand beat up offset press, and we just did our own printing. And so every weekend, we had a lot of volunteers, a lot of kids. Dan Ruiz rounded up the volunteers from Salvation Army, and we would print a flyer every week, a different colored paper, and we just flooded the neighborhood.
That printing machine led to what some people term the brown machine.
I forget who it was. Hey, there comes the brown machine, Moya, Barrientos, and Treviño. So we let it go. Está bueno. Brown machine.
We had pachangas at Zaragoza Park where we had hundreds of people there, and it was all the same thing. Free beer and sausage traps. That was the deal. And people showed up. We don't know how many of them actually were registered to vote because we didn't check, but we encouraged them to register to vote as a hand. And some people told us that they had never voted. They've been registered to vote maybe 20 years, but they never voted.
For me, it was kind of the opening of doors of actually of what political activism was, and having also the experience of going into the community, door to door, voter registration, engaging people in conversation about why it was important to vote, and having this discussion, in the different barrios.
Me and Paul Tovar ran against the incumbent. We'd been there for 21 years, and they didn't think we could win, but I did win. And the way I won was because these guys like Gonzalo and John and a lot of others worked real hard to make sure that we turned out to vote.
While the Mexican-American vote could not by itself elect someone countywide, we therefore set up coalitions. African-Americans, Mexican-Americans, labor, students, environmentalists. We all kind of needed each other during those years.
We rallied around him, and it wasn't an easy campaign. There was a lot of resistance from the white establishment to have someone like Richard Moya running for an important position of county commissioner. But this was something that we were able to do to rally people and educate them about our right to register and vote, and use that as a means of speaking out on our own behalf.
And we got tremendous turnout, and I thought all of a sudden our constituents felt like, yeah, we can win these things. Where before, it's not what you're running for, you can't win anyway.
Richard Moya's campaign actually was a catalyst for getting a lot of this action going throughout the community. And a lot of political leadership developed from that.
When you're running for office, you got to go door to door, especially if you don't have the money for television, etc. One of the first doors I hit on the west side of Austin, I knocked on the door, and this guy comes out, and I said, hello, my name's Gonzalo Barrientos, and I'm running for state representative in place 4. He said, get out of here, I ain't gonna vote for no damn Mexican. Slams the door. It kind of hurts your feelings. But you gotta go to the next door. So I knocked on a lot of doors, lost about 10 or 20 pounds, and we finally got there.
They made some bumper stickers, and they said, who is Gonzalo Barrientos? And I stuck those all over the place. I had them in my purse, on my hippie purse. I just stuck them all over.
I lost the first race. John Treviño lost the first race. We ran again on the second time. We both won.
John Treviño was the first Mexican-American to be elected to the city council, and I was there the night he was elected. That was such a big deal. The city council was elected at large, and so it's difficult for minorities particularly to get on the city council.
Activists in East Austin were starting to organize, especially to begin to identify Mexican-American candidates who would represent East Austin in local politics. The political activity, by the way, led to some of those folks then becoming very active in the Raza Unige Party that Jose Angel Gutierrez and others were starting around the state of Texas. But there was local Raza Unige participation in that too.
We wanted to use these campaigns for state office as a way to promote change or improved representation of Mexican Americans and the Democratic Party.
The enthusiasm that came forth out of that was primarily out of the gubernatorial campaign. Ramsey Muñiz was the candidate, and the charisma that he possessed.
Everywhere we go, a donde vamos, our people are awakening and their eyes are opening.
The Raza Unige Party was something that gave people a lot of hope, and it educated a lot of people of their rights to vote and the importance of voting, and how people who cared about community and who looked like us could actually get into political power and make changes.
The split between those that went to Democrats and Raza Unige, we were friendly, but we didn't think the same. We had two different points of view politically. And two, it was all men. Margaret Gomez was really one of the few, to run, but most of them were men. In Raza Unige, you'd look at any platform and it would be at least half women, and in some cases more women.
We all are walking toward the same goal. It's just different paths, and sometimes we do differ. Sometimes we run against each other.
The Democratic Party started reacting to what we were doing, and like I say, opening up more, which attracted more Raza. Our people wanted to have a feeling of belonging, and if that acceptance was there, they were going to be part of that. To this day, I still consider myself Raza Unige, and even though I might vote Democrat, in my heart, I'm still Raza Unige.
The party didn't do very well in the 78 elections. They were very impressive with their voting results in 72 and 74, but not in 78. It dissolved also because of very serious attempts to undermine the party. These attempts involved law enforcement officials who brought drug charges against some of our candidates. Some of those cases may have been justified. In some cases, the charges were not. So it dissolved.
We repeat mistakes, we repeat agendas, but the thing is, the struggle goes on. Seguimos en la lucha.
You look back now, and for where we started and where we are now, now any young man or young woman that wants to be whatever, they can do it now. It's there. Now what are you going to do with it? We opened the door for you. Now what are you going to do with it?
Thank you.